like looking the other way while the steamroller that ran over you is in the horizon in the other direction as they rush off to the future. That is true. The Frankfurt School refers to a group of German-American theorists who developed powerful analysis of the changes in Western capitalist societies that occurred since the classical theory of Marx. Working at the Institute for Sozialforschung in Frankfurt, Germany in the late 1920s and early 1930s, theorists such as Marx Horkheimer, T.W. Adorno, that's Theo Adorno, I've talked about him before, amazing books he churned out. It's certainly an amazing mind. It's up to you whether you agree with him or not. Herbert Marcuse, Leo Lowenthal, and Erich Fromm. Erich Fromm also churned out a lot of books and produced some of the first accounts within critical society, social theory of the importance of mass culture and communication in social reproduction and domination. The Frankfurt School also generated one of the first models of a critical cultural studies that analyzes the processes of cultural production and political economy, the politics of cultural texts, and audience reception and use of cultural artifacts. Moving from Nazi Germany to the United States, the Frankfurt School experienced at first hand the rise of a media culture involving film, that's movies and so on, popular music, radio, television, and other forms of mass culture. In the United States, where they found themselves in exile, media production was by and large a form of commercial entertainment controlled by big corporations. Two of its key theorists, Marx Horkheimer and T.W. Adorno, developed an account of the cultural industry. They called it the culture industry, to call attention to the industrialization and commercialization of culture under capitalist relations of production. This situation was most marked in the United States that had little state support of film or television industries and where a highly commercial mass culture emerged that came to be a distinctive feature of capitalist societies and a focus of critical cultural studies. During the 1930s, the Frankfurt School developed a critical and transdisciplinary approach to cultural and communications studies, combining political economy, the textual analysis, and analysis of social and ideological effects of. They coined the term culture industry to signify the process of the industrialization of mass-produced culture and the commercial imperatives, that drove the system. The critical theorists analyzed all mass-mediated cultural artifacts within the context of industrial production, in which the commodities of the culture industries exhibited the same features as other products of mass production: commodification, standardization, and massification. Now, you have to look at how far back, even in the movies, they were showing you certain brands of cars in movies. They'd tell you who made the clothes for the sets. That's the fashion industry there. And various other features. You have phenomenons that were created, like Elvis Presley. Look at all the cars you would see in each of these movies, and the clothes and fashions, etc. It was all planned with all those groups together, these big groups like the ones like Bernays ran. The cultural industries had the specific function, however, of providing ideological legitimation of existing capitalist societies and of integrating individuals into its way of life. So you don't realize that the culture that you're given is put out by guys like Bernays, a man who could literally con a nation to go into war with another country because he had vested interests. He was getting paid by the main company that literally was bananas. That controlled that country. He wanted the guy out who was voted in, and he got the US to go to war and bomb them. That's the power of persuasion. And Bernays himself set up a movie industry to deal with that specific subject, and turned out propaganda was shown over all the cinemas everywhere, full of lies about this particular prime minister who'd been voted in. And that won over the minds of the people. That's how easy it is. If it's on the screen, if it's on TV, it must be true. That's how simple it is. That was in Wag the Dog. Same thing. That's why Woody Allen called that movie bananas. He knew. Adorno's analysis of popular music, television, and other phenomena ranging from astrology columns to fascist speeches, everything that's in your society, everything that's in the newspaper, from astrology columns to fascist speeches, everything that will influence people. Lowenthal's studies of popular literature and magazines, Herzog's study of radio soap operas. So they were even studying radio soap operas back then to see how it would affect the culture. And it was affecting the culture. They had tremendous results and amazing information they were compiling about societies. And the perspectives and critiques of mass culture developed by Horkheimer and Adorno's famous study of the culture industries, which it published in 1972. This has provided many examples of the Frankfurt School approach. Moreover, in their theories of the culture industries and critiques of mass culture, they were among the first social theorists its importance in the reproduction of contemporary societies. In their view, mass culture and communication stand in the center of leisure activity. They are important agents of socialization. They're mediators of political reality and should thus be seen as major institutions of contemporary societies with a variety of economic, political, and social effects. Going into the writings of Bernays and that series of videos I've got up on my site from 2 or 3 nights ago, you'll see how they literally created a modern American culture. If you look at the movie, you can buy the movie. It's called Hollywoodism, or Hollywood and the Culture Industry. You'll hear the top producers of movies and the owners of the big companies in Hollywood saying, we gave Americans their culture. We created American culture. And what they claimed was before Hollywood came along, there was no real unified culture. You had different immigrants from different areas in Europe who settled in different areas who kept their old cultures, often a little bit different from each other. So Hollywood is claiming that they helped unify the country in the 1900s by giving them movies and giving them a past, the cowboy past, that only lasted a few years, remember, before the trains came through. Furthermore, the critical theorists investigated the cultural industries in a political context as a form of the integration of the working class into capitalist societies. The Frankfurt School theorists were amongst the first neo-Marxian groups to examine the effects of mass culture and the rise of the consumer society on the working classes, which were to be the instrument of revolution in the classical Marxian scenario. See, Marxism, they knew, could not win in a society where basic necessities were available to pretty well everyone. They also analyzed the ways that the culture industries and consumer society were stabilizing contemporary capitalism and accordingly sought new strategies for political change. See, they were after, these guys in this group were after political change, a directed change. And some of them, like Theodorno and so on, were used during World War II, along with many other well-known writers of that period, by MI5. And yet these guys were actually classified as Trotskyites. They were believers in the Trotsky perpetual revolution idea. So accordingly sought new strategies for political change, agencies of political transformation, and models for political emancipation that could serve as norms of social critique and goals for political struggle. This project required rethinking Marxian theory and produced many important contributions, as well as some problematic positions. Now remember, too, they wanted to separate the youth from the older using the classical techniques of communism, because they wanted a fresh start with new youth who were in touch with parents. You must divide parents from the youth to get a new idea across. You must make the parents seem old-fashioned and out of touch